Kevin Warsh sworn in today as the 17th chairman of the Federal Reserve, pledging to bring reforms to the institution. Richard Fishers, the former Dallas Fed president, Jeffrey's senior advisor, joins us now on what all of this means. Great to have you on this day. Is Fed independence alive and well? Is it wounded? How would you assess it as Kevin Warsh takes the helm?
Well, I hope it's alive and well. It needs to be alive and well. The Federal Reserve needs to operate without any political interference from either side of the aisle and do what it's supposed to do. And I thought Kevin actually laid it out pretty well in his acceptance. It's an independent body, and it has a mission. There are going to be some changes he'll try to bring about. It'll take him some time under his leadership. But clearly that was a statement about independence. And if he doesn't live up to that, or if the market perceives that he's going to work on behalf of the president, then I think the markets will react very negatively. And he's obviously well aware of that.
I mean, he talks about a reform-oriented Fed. What does that mean? Is there a danger that he goes too far in trying to reform this institution that you used to serve on?
Well, I don't know. He hasn't really articulated that fully thus far. I agree with him, by the way, on the dot plot. That's an exercise I always found rather silly. He even gave a speech about it based on Dr. Seuss called Out, Out, Down, Dot. But we've stuck with it nonetheless. And he probably will try to do less press conferences than has been done recently by the most recent chairman and also the one before him. So as to reform, I'm not sure exactly what he means. And we'll just have to watch and see.
Speaking of Fed chairs who have come before Kevin Warsh, as Nick Timiraos pointed out a short time ago, and I don't know if you heard this or not, and I didn't realize myself that Ben Bernanke, who was Fed chair when Mr. Warsh was governor, on the Fed, wasn't in the room today. And he went out of his way to single out Alan Greenspan. I'm wondering what you think that signifies about his views on the kind of Fed he wants to have, even in moments of crisis when he was in the room where it happened, when some think the Fed, in part with others, helped save the world.
Yeah, Kevin was there for almost 5 years of my 10. He never objected to where the chairman was going or where the committee was going. He never dissented. And also, he really made his mark by being very helpful to Ben Bernanke to interpret Wall Street for him, and took a lot of credit for that. And yet, Ben Bernanke hasn't said one word about him that I'm aware of since he was appointed. So here's the point. Kevin's got a very good personality. He's got good people skills. He's going to have to work very hard to cover some wounds that he inflicted on the Fed. And it'll take him some time to do so, both to the bank presidents, also some of the other governors. And we'll have to see how long it takes him to overcome some of those wounds that were inflicted by him. But I think he will do a decent job long term. Again, it was pointed out today, he's only 56. He's got a long-term road ahead of him. He'll have to do what's right to protect the Fed's independence and to meet its dual mandate. And I think he's got some help now from Waller, but also from the exiting chairman, who's going to stay on for a couple of months. The committee's not going to be willing to move to where the president wants it. And I think the president, for the most part, appreciates that. That's what he's been saying recently.
It's interesting. You raise, a critical issue. He takes over, does Warsh, and as you sort of allude to, an offended Fed by virtue of some of the things that Warsh himself has said in the past. But he also takes over an extraordinarily divided and certainly more hawkish Fed than he probably expected he'd be walking into when he was first nominated for this job.
Yeah. And the circumstances change. As you know, I was probably the biggest hawk on that committee. I think it's time not to move, but to be biased towards hawkishness until we exorcise all the inflation from the system that's being built in due to the Straits of Hormuz, due to the tariffs, and now the momentum that's gaining. If you look at the earnings reports, like the big companies, Walmart today or this morning, they were making it very clear they're not going to be able to hold back much longer. And that affects one of the broadest arrays of consumerism. So, again, that's the circumstance he's going to have to deal with. And by the way, he's going to have to win over the whole committee. There are 19 people on the committee. He's one, the most important one. But if he can't get the other 18 to go with him, it's going to take time.